Prediction of Russia's attack on Ukraine, from cyber to the Great Invasion. According to the Moscow news site Compass.com, Russia is likely to launch some form of attack on Ukraine, but the scale is still unknown, as the Kremlin has many options available, analysts say. Moscow has in recent weeks amassed about 100,000 troops near the border with Ukraine, sparking fears that the most serious East-West conflict since the Cold War is about to break out. Analysts quoted by AFP said the deployment of Russian troops gave Moscow various options, and President Vladimir Putin would consider factors ranging from Western retaliation to the weather. From a military point of view, Russia is preparing for a number of possibilities, from psychological agitation through cyberspace and informational means to a full-scale invasion, said Matthew Bolhue, researcher at Chatham House, a London-based organization. Think tank. For Moscow, the question is no longer if, but when and how to intervene in Ukraine, he said, arguing that Russia is just waiting for an excuse. Bolhue said there was time pressure for the Kremlin as it would prove difficult to maintain so many Russian troops for long in the winter months, as many of them are deployed from the far east of the country. Apart from a mass ground deployment, an invasion would cost Russia. That's why Putin could opt for air and artillery strikes on Ukrainian command and control centers to destroy their ability to retaliate without having to mobilize Russian troops, he explained. In what many see as the opening blow to the conflict, Ukraine last week suffered a massive cyber attack that the West blamed on Russia. Meanwhile, Moscow is planning major military exercises with the regime in Ukraine's pro-Kremlin neighbor Belarus in February. Russia likes to play with forces that can calibrate crises from total de-escalation to total war, so they have all the options, said William Alberk of the International Institute for Strategic Studies. He said these options range from cyber and information warfare to large-scale invasions. Russia, wants something from Ukraine, he added. Alberk continued, the change of season from winter to spring provides another factor. Russia has a chance from now on until daily temperatures rise in Ukraine. The last thing they want is to operate the tanks in the spring, because they will really stagnate, he said. Meanwhile, research professor Pavel Baev at the Peace Research Institute Oslo estimates the airstrikes will most likely be carried out by Russia given Ukraine's inability to respond significantly. He said the large number of Russian troops deployed at the border was not enough for a full-scale invasion and occupation of Ukraine. When in 1968 the Soviet Union entered Czechoslovakia, which is a small country, they had at least twice as many Russian troops on the Ukrainian border, he said. Keir Giles, director of research at the Research Center for Conflict Studies, said Russia had many options other than a ground invasion to achieve its goals. Russia could launch a ground invasion if it wanted to, but that would be expensive, messy and above all unpredictable, he said. While the increase in Russian troops is sufficient for a limited ground attack on Ukraine, the same effect for Russia can be achieved with missile, air or cyber attacks targeting critical Ukrainian military or civilian systems, he said. Such attacks can be started and ended at will, and are punctuated by pauses to repeat or escalate demands to pressure Kiev to grant concessions, and its Western partners to grant Russia's wishes, he said.